Hello and welcome to the Hotkeys podcast, your shortcut to various opinions on all things pop culture. This is the episode for the week of March the 28th, 2021. I am your host for this week, David Parker, and joining me today is...
Landon Browning.
Wil Dobratz.
And Colby Chapman.
And Colby Chapman. Will.
Yay.
Mick is not here.
I'm here. I'm here.
We'll say Will is not here. No, Mick is not here this week. He said he's not feeling well, so he'll be back next week to talk about stuff, which is a bummer because last week's episode we talked pretty much exclusively about the Zack Snyder cut of Justice League, which had just come out, and Landon and I did something that we thought we never would do, and we watched the theatrical release of the Justice League this week just to compare. So Landon, you and I both watched that separately yesterday. What were your thoughts?
I had initially planned on
enjoying your Saturday.
No, that. But I had initially planned on coming back on the show. I thought I was maybe a little harsh on the Snyder cut of the film, but after watching Joss Whedon's take, I don't think I was harsh enough on Zack Snyder's version of the film. For all the hype and all the people saying it was like a completely different movie, as far as I'm concerned, the movies were almost identical, except for Zack Snyder's had 2 hours more of like almost pointless filler.
Whoa! Are you talking about Cyborg's storyline?
Yeah, Cyborg's actually probably a better character in Joss Whedon's version of the movie because there's just less of him, and he's not like a mopey, like whiny, I don't know, just terribly written character. He's just more of a side piece, and like, you know, he's just like an unimportant side character in Joss Whedon's, which actually I felt like suited his character better. There were still a few things. I still like some things in Zack Snyder's version better, like Steppenwolf's design definitely better in the Snyder cut. The black suit Superman aesthetically is way cooler. But yeah, I liked Cyborg more in Joss Whedon's take. I liked Aquaman more. The Flash and I feel like Wonder Woman were essentially the same character. There was maybe a few more quips from the Flash, but I didn't find it that much different.
There was less chanting from Wonder Woman's soundtrack because I think there was zero. So
yep, that was way better. Way less infuriating. The fight scenes were trimmed down to a way more appropriate length. Yeah, I was actually blown away. I thought that I really thought the theatrical cut was going to be terrible, and it was actually like, I mean, it's not a good movie. It's not a good movie at all. It is still a terrible movie. But they're really essentially like, if I were to grade them both, I mean, okay, no, let me put it this way. There's probably a cut of Justice League if you combine the elements, like my favorite elements from Joss Whedon's version and Zack Snyder's version. If you like combine like the best of both movies, you could probabprobably cobble together like a 4.5 out of 10 film.
Landon Browning, Justice League.
Yeah, Landon Browning. But on their own, they're both horrific films. Yeah, terrible. I was blown away. I was watching it. I was like, man, I'm like over halfway through the movie, and I feel like it's the same like storyline, except for I haven't had to suffer through. I actually saw that Zack Snyder's Justice League, 10% of the film is in slow motion. So like over 20 minutes of the movie are in slow motion. I think in the theatrical cut, it cuts the slow motion maybe 2 or 3 times in the entire film. Yeah, I don't know. I can't. Yeah, after watching, I can't state it enough how bad like both versions of the movie are. Like, I mean, the just how padded the fight scenes just alone. Like that's where like almost the entire extra 2 hours is just extending the fight scenes with slow motion and like just overly repetitive, like bad CGI and bad fight sequences. So, I mean, they add Darkseid in Zack Snyder's version, but he doesn't really do anything. Yeah, Dave, you can take it. I mean, I was floored.
Well, I think my sentiments are going to be similar to yours. I don't know if it's partly also because I was editing last week's episode, and as I was listening to it, I was like, man, I really wish I had the original movie to compare the Snyder Cut to, because Michael made the theatrical movie sound like, in comparison to the Snyder Cut, like hot street trash. I was not a fan of the Snyder Cut of the movie. I thought it was way too long. I thought it was way too boring. I liked very little of the characters. I thought it was too dull. It's not my kind of movie. I didn't really like it. So as I was listening to Michael talk about it again, as I was editing the episode, I was like, you know what? It's a Saturday. I'm not doing much. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to watch the movie. I'll like play a video game as I'm doing it or something so that I just have this thing to compare it to. And then I can understand just how bad the theatrical movie was. And I wanted to like myself see the differences because I tried to look up kind of good comparisons about the differences that were in the movie and like how they felt different. Because that's one thing that was explained by Michael in particular was just that they felt like completely different movies. So I wanted to know just how different they were. So I started watching the movie and I'm basically just waiting for the train wreck to be like, gosh, like, man, yeah, this movie is way worse than the Snyder Cut. And I kept getting farther and farther into the movie, and I was still waiting for the movie to get worse, and it wasn't coming yet. I mean, the pacing in the movie, I mean, from the beginning to, I mean, I would say probably an hour in, is, I think, light years better than the Snyder Cut, because all the things that they had added, when you don't have them in there, it just kind of, everything flows a lot more better. You kind of have your little vignettes of your characters that you're having, the members of the Justice League as they're slowly forming. It flowed a lot better, I thought. There wasn't as much, too, that was changed in the movie that I was expecting. I don't know if it's just because of hearing Michael talk about how different they were, but the amount of stuff that was, especially in the front half of the movie, the first hour, which is only half of the movie, not a quarter of the movie, there's very little that I recognized as like stuff that Joss Whedon had put in. There was some stuff in the beginning with Batman and seeing the cubes on the wall. There's the Lois Lane scene with Amy Adams. And then there's some other stuff kind of interspersed throughout. But essentially for the first half of the movie, there's just very little that was that different that affected it, to a degree that made it feel like a different movie. One thing about it, the second half, there was more dramatic changes that were present, I think, with some of the reshoots that were there. I don't think they were horrible. I also don't think they were great. It was a different kind of bad than Snyder's version of events. The thing I think that was the most glaringly different was probably the feel of the film by the soundtrack. That really affected kind of how the movie was perceived. This movie, the theatrical version of Justice League, with the Danny Elfman soundtrack and the kind of way less slow-mo, less dark, less like boring, drawn-out scenes that we get in the Zack Snyder films, made the film not feel like a Zack Snyder film. It feels like a Justice League movie. It feels like a DC movie, but it didn't feel like a Zack Snyder movie. The Snyder Cut of Justice League felt a lot like Batman v Superman, Man of Steel, those movies that he's done in the DC universe. So the thing that I can see like the most different is that one of them feels like a Zack Snyder movie, the other one does not feel like a Zack Snyder movie. But as for like plot and kind of even how the characters interact and their sort of arcs, even though they're not great, for the most part, they're fairly similar. I do agree. I think Cyborg was much more palatable in the theatrical version. I also was not a fan of him in the Snyder Cut. I don't understand the fans that kind of say that it was kind of like this heart of the film. A review I read had talked about that, and people that find him as the heart of the film probably wouldn't agree with this. But when you Cyborg in the theatrical version, he kind of has a similar sort of arc. He's one of the other people. He ends up joining the team. He helps out. He still is instrumental to taking it down the mother boxes since he was created from them and everything. But then when you have him in the Snyder Cut, when you're able to take out all the stuff that they added into him, which they called the heart of the film, and it still is serviceable and works as a character just fine in the theatrical version, that kind of, I feel like, is not a good indicator of what the heart of your film is. there was a review that had talked a little bit about that, but I didn't word it as well as they did. But I don't know. I kept waiting for the movie to get worse than the Snyder Cut, like markedly worse, and it was just about the same, just in different ways. If I had to watch one of them again, I would absolutely choose the theatrical version because it's shorter. It was more fun to watch. I do agree with the Steppenwolf redesign. I think he looks way cooler, and some of the stuff they do with his character, kind of feeling more like a sad sack, was kind of more interesting as a character than just generic destroyer of worlds that he is in the theatrical version. But I don't know. They didn't need all the stuff they added in the Snyder Cut to make that character like that. They could have truncated it quite a bit and kind of gotten a good Steppenwolf that neither of the films really, I think, brought to the best of their ability.
Did they? Did Steppenwolf originally look like how Zack Snyder had him, and then Joss Whedon changed it to look like that, or was his redesign something that just happened after the fact? Like, did Zack Snyder design the original version, then when he saw that everybody hated it, he's like, oh, in my original vision, we'll just change it to something cooler?
I have no clue. I'm sure there's people that know a lot more than that. I mean, a lot of things like that, like since it's something that's so heavily done in post-production, is that there are kind of changes that can be made up till the end. So there may have been like mock-ups of Steppenwolf character, and they probably weren't exactly sure what he was going to be looking like when they released the movie. And so I'm not sure if the one that we got in the Snyder Cut is actually what we would have gotten if Zack Snyder had originally finished his movie. We probably would have gotten something much more similar to what we got in the Joss Whedon one, at least with the way that he looked, I'm guessing. But the way he looks is way cooler in the Snyder version. I would 100% agree with that.
I feel like they could have made, like, I like some of the stuff better in Snyder's version of the movie, but I feel like they still could have kept the runtime to 2 hours or 2:20, 2 hours 20 minutes with still some of the aesthetic changes and even a couple of the scenes. Like, I really like the Flash scene where he saves the girl. And that's not in the theatrical cut, but they could have had that scene, kept Steppenwolf being a little bit more interesting, even had Darkseid, like one, shot of him talking to him, and all of a sudden the runtime could have still been, 2 hours, and they could have had most of the changes they had without adding all the extra, I don't want to call it fluff, because it's, I guess, filler. Mm-hmm. Like, it just feels like it's just stuffed to the brim with, like, I mean, the whole, like, the beginning stuffing. Fight scene, like stuffing, which is disgusting. Like, the beginning fight, like, at the beginning of the film, Steppenwolf takes the first mother box from the Amazons. And in Zack Snyder's version of the film, that fight scene is probably close to a half an hour long.
It takes forever. I would say it's like probably not 30 minutes, but it feels like 30 minutes, and it's probably closer to 30 minutes than whatever the whatever the theatrical version has towards its.
And it's worth noting that whole fight scene does not have a single significant character to the film, and it has like the mom Amazon chick.
Which it's actually, and it's not even the same actress, right? In this movie, because isn't it Robin Wright in the other movies, in the Wonder Woman movies?
I don't know.
Mm-hmm. I think so. Yeah.
Yeah, in Justice League,
not a character that anybody
different actress.
Oh, okay, so. Yeah, so it's like these characters you don't care about, and they still try to have like dramatic like effects, like, oh, this character died, and it's like, well, nobody cares about.
I think
that's why are we watching all these random?
I think that's a good kind of sequence to use as an example, because in the theatrical version, it's fairly quick, but I don't know.
I would say it's 5 minutes long, right? Like 5 minutes.
It's fairly quick. Everything because it's quicker. It seemed more important to me because of like the severity of how things went so bad so quickly. And you got the same kind of understanding of who this bad character is in a much shorter amount of time. And he seemed much more menacing in that shorter sequence than he did in the longer one. Yes, they don't show like the thing sinking into the water, and they don't show all the like the extended fights and the, like the slow motion portion, and like how long it took for them to knock down the barriers, and the extended galloping and the fighting and everything. It's like it went much quicker, but you got like you really got an understanding of what was happening, and that was the scene where I started thinking, I thought this movie was supposed to be horrible. Like when is it getting to that point? Or not horrible, but it's supposed to be worse than the other version.
So two things. One, in David Parker's Justice League, can we like agree that every single action scene is going to be in slow-mo, no matter what?
Yes, every single
one.
Every single action sequence would be in slow motion because that's what I love more than anything else.
All right.
And
two.
Okay, go ahead.
Oh no, go ahead. If it's
No. You said two things and I forgot. So.
Oh yeah. There's currently a movement on Twitter, like it's kind of not super huge, but it's called #Restore the Snyderverse. I don't know if you've seen anything about that, and I'm going to guess that you guys are not for that movement.
I personally don't think Zack Snyder should be allowed to make another superhero movie ever. I don't think he gets them. I don't think he understands what makes them fun and cool and interesting. So I think
at least of the three, of his three recent ones, because I want to rewatch Watchmen because the last time I saw that was probably 2010 or 2011. It came out 2009, I think. But of Batman v Superman, Man of Steel, and Zack Snyder's Justice League, I did not like any of those movies, and I don't want to go back to them. I don't enjoy them. I think they're really slow.
Boring.
I think they're really boring.
They're pretentious. I think they're super pretentious.
Yeah. This 4-hour version, it kind of just oozed like self-importance, pretentiousness.
Yeah, he acts like, I feel like he acts like he's like on the same pedestal of like, the Christopher Nolans, the Steven Spielbergs and those things, when I don't think he really, like, I don't think there should be like the thing where it's like, oh, it's Zack Snyder's. Like, I don't think he has like that pedigree to where they're like, oh, this is the new Zack Snyder film coming out. Like, that's just my opinion, but I don't.
Interesting.
I think I agree with most of that, I would say.
Yeah. I was really surprised to hear that both Landon and Dave decided to watch the theatrical versions yesterday. Because like my thing is, if I'm not really interested in the movie, I'm not going to watch it. So I was very surprised.
You're smarter.
I was surprised to see that you guys like wasted a combined 6 hours.
Yeah,
each.
but mine
IQ is a little higher than the rest of us.
I know, but mine is kind of like, you gotta build yourself up like defensively, and if I want to be able to come from a certain point of view, I feel like it was better if I watched that movie. And not to rag, I mean, most of what I kind of had heard about the movie before was pretty much all things I'd heard from Michael, because he had been really excited about it. So, and a lot of my comparisons, especially since when we had talked about it last week, I hadn't seen the movie. A lot of my comparisons were from what Michael was saying. So I was watching a theatrical version, comparing it to Michael's critiques. So, and that was a lot of the things I don't know if I just experience movies differently than he does, but a lot of the things I was kind of a little baffled with the things that he was saying about the comparisons of the two. Like he kind of described the theatrical version as just like way too funny, way too quippy. And I would say Flash has maybe like 10 to 15% more quip in the theatrical version, but
now with 15% more quip.
But a lot of what was in the theatrical version was in the Snyder cut. A lot of interaction, like kind of especially like funny things that Flash did in particular, or some of like the weird, like some of the interactions with Aquaman and stuff like that. So I don't understand the position Michael was coming from with that type of critique about saying that it was so much more quippy or so much more funny. And I really felt like I was also comparing it kind of to Marvel movies. It felt much more dialed down in comparison to a Marvel movie with the level of like quip, I guess is the best way to say it. Batman was a little more lighter in this movie, but he was still pretty dark. I thought Batman seemed much more competent in the theatrital version than he did.
Oh, he's worthless. He's worthless
than he did in the Snyder cut.
The
Snyder cut, he kind of seems really boring. I mean, I don't like. I hate keeping.
He doesn't need to be there. He does not need to be there in the Snyder cut. He doesn't really accomplish. Like, he gets them together, kind of, but he doesn't even like. I don't know. It really, like, the Snyder cut was made for the people that worship Zack Snyder. It's kind of like it's almost kind of like this circle jerk between the fans and
Zack Snyder.
and Zack Snyder, like, they begged for it to happen. Zack Snyder kept, teasing them with, like, images and stuff, and they got it going. And he probably made it 4 hours long because, like, he knows that's what his fans want. And it's just this big, stupid, like, if this was the movie that was released in theater, like, it wouldn't have been released at 4 hours long. But I'm over it. I'm over it at this point. Like, I just want to see him, like, disappear. Like,
what's very interesting is there's a video that I sent you guys, and for context, it's a video about how Man of Steel and Batman vs. Superman represent a fundamental misunderstanding of what it means to be not only a superhero, but be a Batman and a Superman film. Mm-hmm. That same person that made that video liked Justice League, Zack Snyder's Justice League, and he hated the original cut. I haven't watched the video yet that says that he liked it.
What?
But I'm really looking forward to watching it and seeing his opinion on it because it'll be interesting.
I'd like to watch this video because I think I watched that one that you shared with us both.
Yeah, also I'll send it and we could talk about it next week or something.
Yeah, I mean, I wish
that
Mick.
Seems odd.
I wish Mick could have been here because I think it would have been a little more interesting discussion instead of just Landon and I crapping on both movies. But
yeah, like I said, like I had no interest in watching either film, so I didn't. That's why I have nothing to say about it.
I would say after watching both, Colby, you are better off not watching either movie. So
right,
you
like,
you are the big
guys
brain
want
one
to
here.
watch-
Landon and I are the dummy dumbs because we've wasted the most amount of time on these stupid movies.
It makes
I wasted 2 hours,
sense that you guys wanted to watch that movie to like kind of prepare yourself defensively. Like whereas like I didn't watch it because I didn't care. Like I just had no interest in.
Yeah,
I don't think I ever will actually watch those movies because I'm not a big movie person to begin with, and on top of that, if the movie's getting a lot of hate from like I don't know a generalized group of people, like I'm just gonna be like, oh.
But
yeah,
what if your close friend Mick Parker says, Colby, I love this movie. This is one of my favorite movies. It was originally really bad, but then the original director came out with his magnum opus, which was the actual version that we wanted, and it was so good, you should watch it.
So here's the thing. If the movie wasn't 4 hours, I would be like, okay, Mick, I would watch that with you. But I don't think I'll sit down and watch anything for 4 hours.
Lawrence of Arabia?
Like a good time
The
to me.
Return of
I
the
need to rewatch
King?
that.
But like, because it's 4 hours, I just won't.
I just feel like he had all, like, I don't know. They had all this time to, like, recut it and do all this stuff. I already said this, but I think there's a version in between the two that would be okay. Not great, but okay. Like, I think they could have had, like, I don't even know why I'm saying it. I already said, like, just recut it, cut the action scenes down, get the runtime to, like, 2.5 hours long. You're still longer than the original movie. You could have all the dark side stuff. You could have Steppenwolf redesigned. You have Black Suit Superman. I don't think they don't add the Cyborg backstory back in because I was just
Does the Russian family
atrocious.
Do they stay in?
No, cut the Russian family. So you cut the Russian family out. Like, that was dumb. I would say the whole, like, last 25 minutes of the Justice League, that portion of when they're fighting Steppenwolf for the last time, I think it is better in Snyder's cut. Watching Superman just, like, I mean, literally pummel, Steppenwolf basically to death. That was cooler. I like that whole sequence. And they could have totally had that, like, be when they reveal Darkseid, like he's just there. You could have maybe had... I probably would have kept the flashback sequence when Darkseid is fighting the people of Earth. I would have kept that out of the movie. Just another pointless
because that was kind of just
sequence.
like exposition dump, essentially, right?
Yeah, an exposition dump was more slow-mo, stupid action sequences. Yeah, I don't know. I just feel like it's such a waste. They had a chance. The fans hated, people hated the original Justice League. You get a chance to fix it, and the way they fixed it was basically just like a extremely poorly paced, chopped together.
So, as these diehard Zack Snyder fans get what they wanted, was there any universe where they would have not enjoyed this movie?
No. All it has to have was Zack Snyder's name plastered in front of it, and they would like it. I mean, that's I don't know. As far as I'm concerned, that's the truth of the matter. Like,
all right, and that's Landon's truth of the matter.
That's my
right
take.
there.
Nope. That's my take on it. I think if you put his name, I mean, I feel like you could have released like Thor 2, and if it was Zack Snyder's Thor 2, they would have been like, yeah, one of the best movies ever made. So I'm sorry. I'm coming in hot today, man. I'm coming in hot.
I think that's enough Justice League talk right now. If Michael, or infrequent guest host Jonah listen to this episode, then maybe we'll have some more talk in a week or two. So we'll find out. But for now, we'll just shelve this Justice League talk and only bring it up if Michael or someone else brings it up.
Screw Zack Snyder.
Gosh.
Oh man. Well, when Zack Snyder's Star Trek movies come out, then
no, please,
we can.
No, don't ruin Star Trek, please. No.
Okay, so we I guess to move on, Landon and Colby, you both now have possession of your PS5s. Like this week, Colby, you got yours last week. Landon, you got yours this week. What's it like? What's it like to be one of the rich guys?
To be better.
How are they working? Guys? How are they working, fellas?
Mine works great.
Are they working?
Mine works great now.
What did you do? Like, okay, so for context, what issues did you have at launch?
So I, started it up, got everything synced my data from my PlayStation 4, and it just would disconnect me from my Wi-Fi randomly, which meant I couldn't download any games. I couldn't play on it. And so eventually I just got super fed up and factory reset it. And I don't know, that seemed to work. I haven't had any issues. It's been about 4 days.
Sweet.
So now I would recommend getting one. If you asked me,
4 days ago, then the answer would have been
the PS5. I would have said I'd probably wait, but honestly, I could get one, man. Like if you can, but yeah, I love it, dude. The controller is probably my favorite controller I've ever played with.
Dang.
So
is it comfortable?
Awesome. Super comfortable. It reminds me a lot of the 360 controller, which used to be my favorite, but it has better features. Like Landon was saying, the D-pad on the controller for the 360 was in like a terrible place, and now
just the shape of it was terrible. Like it wasn't a D-pad.
It was bad. So
like a glob.
The circle.
I don't know. And the haptic feedback is really cool too. So
yeah, that's what I wanted to hear more about, is the haptic feedback. That's something I'm looking forward to. What games have you guys experienced that in so far, and then what's it been like?
The PS5 comes with a pack-in game, Astro's Playroom, I think it's called, Astro Bot's Playroom, and it's essentially a glorified tech demo. It's like a pretty short platformer game, and they take advantage of a lot of the motion controls with the controller and the haptic feedback, which is really cool. It's like the vibration is just, instead of just like a generic, like it's either rumbling or not, like it can be in different spots of the controller at different, I don't know, frequency or pitch or something. I don't know the technical term, but then the triggers, I think the triggers is the coolest part.
That's my favorite part.
Like it feels like there's resistance on them when you're doing different things. So like there's a mini game where you're climbing up this wall in like a monkey suit, and each time you like try to grab with the hands, like that feels like you're actually having to grab onto something. So
right,
I'm excited for playing like a single player shooter with
yes,
with that and the triggers.
Did you guys buy like the Call of Duty PS5 upgrade?
No, I didn't even know that was a thing.
Or there's the Cold War. If you got like the $70 version or whatever, it comes with a free upgrade to PS5. I don't know if you bought it disc or digital, but apparently there might be some like from what I heard, some haptic stuff with like the guns. So that would also be interesting to try.
Yeah, that'd be pretty cool.
Well, Will and I still have months or years before we get our PS5s. So
yeah,
are you guys like actively trying right now? Or are you guys like looking?
I haven't actively tried once to get one.
I've tried once, and I was gonna give it to either you two if you didn't get one, or Oliver.
Who's Oliver?
Gotcha.
Best friend of 3,000 years.
A million years.
Probably the greatest money manager of all time.
Money maker Oliver, right? That's what we call him.
Landon,
right?
You got
right.
Yeah. Landon, you got Miles Morales on like the actual PS5 version, right?
Yep.
Have you started that?
I'm like an hour in. It's really cool. Sorry. Yeah, that's really cool. There hasn't been as much of the haptic feedback in that game yet, but just the swinging, like the 60 frames per second is really nice. For someone that hasn't really gotten experience too much of that in third-person games. Welcome to the future. You know what I'm saying? I'm here.
Dude, you're so far behind.
I'm out here, man. You know, yeah. So
it's funny because getting a PC has made me realize that 60 frames per second should be the norm for everything.
But the eye can't even see in 60 frames per second.
Oh my gosh.
I mean, yeah, I tend to, beyond 60, I don't care that much. But as long as I'm kind of floating around 60, it usually feels pretty good for most kinds of games for me.
So is there a game that you don't like in 60 frames per second?
Like that I want lower?
Yeah.
No, I don't think so. But like,
okay.
But I don't do anything to optimize to try to get a higher frame rate, I guess. Like 90 or 120 or anything like that. Because
I don't even have a monitor that can handle that.
yeah, like, what's my refresh rate here? Right here,
it's 75 for me.
So I mean, yeah, 60 frames. If you're not used to it and you start playing games in it, it does feel a lot better, and there's quite a leap in quality for kind of like the feel. Movies and stuff, I still like lower frame rates. I don't like the 48 or the 60, some are in 60, but like 48, which is double of what we're used to. Movies I still like. Movies and TVs I like 24 frames, but if I'm playing a game, 60 is pretty perfect. So Landon, you have joined the club and you'll hopefully get more accustomed to it. And then, later this year when you buy your $3,000 gaming PC to play with Will and me, then you'll get the 120 refresh rate monitor, and then you'll be the one that's like telling us that we're living in the dark ages here.
Yeah, we'll see if I can. Still trying to get the last house in Spokane right now, so if that doesn't pan out, then maybe I'll.
Oh yeah. You keep getting rejections, right? Because other people keep just throwing money at these houses.
Yeah, I'm gonna put another offer in on one today though. We're gonna get this one. I'm coming in $200,000 over the asking price, so we'll get it, man.
$210,000.
Yeah. For my 1 bed, 1 bath, 200 square foot house
right by the by the highway.
Right by the highway ramp. Like yeah.
Oh gosh.
Get it, dude. The resale value.
Yeah.
Well, you need to
market only goes up.
Keep us updated on the housing, since so far the updates have been, depressing.
I
didn't get another house. Colby.
Dave.
How are you feeling? What happened to you?
It was a little weird yesterday.
How weird?
So, yesterday morning, I went and I got the first shot of the COVID vaccine. I got, what is it? Moderna. So I got my first shot yesterday. And things were fine, just kind of felt like I got punched in the arm, like everybody had said, until, I don't know, maybe like 8 hours after the shot. And
then it felt like you were punched in the body?
Yeah, dude. Then I got a lot more symptoms. Like it felt like I had COVID again. Like fatigue, muscle aches, chills, fever.
Dude, you sheep. I can't believe you got this.
So here's the question.
It was a rough, 24 hours, but I feel great right now.
So here's the question. What if you do have COVID again and that wasn't the effect of the vaccine?
I have COVID again. Then that's probably why Mick doesn't feel good, because I went and got my skates from him yesterday.
Well, it's funny because I, this week, Colby, got my second vaccination because I got my first round a couple weeks ago. And I just had like a little fatigue in my legs 3 weeks ago. And then I had the second one on Wednesday or Tuesday. And the second one was even milder than the first. My arm
one's supposed to be worse.
Yeah, my arm even felt fine pretty much the whole time. So I am fully vaccinated now. I've joined the flock.
Congrats, man. Yeah,
I'm a follower.
You are one of the you're sheep boy puppet man, Dave.
That's what they call me, And Colby, soon you'll be another one. Hopefully your second poke is not as bad as your first.
I hope not, dude. Like kind of scared to get it. And on record, I'm not like trying to discourage anybody from going out there and getting the vaccine. I'd actually still recommend it. I think we should be listening to CDC and not Facebook for that information. And definitely don't listen to like don't listen to my story of how I had a rough 24 hours.
Yeah, Colby's pretty weak. He's a pretty weak man, so
I don't want to get the vaccine. Like, no, that's not why I'm saying this. I found it weird. I'm the only person I've ever talked to who's been vaccinated that had such
an adverse kind of reaction.
Yeah. So I figured I'd share. I think it's a funny story. But like last night when
you thought you were dying, you were like, this is
when
not
I
funny.
literally thought I was dying. Like I could feel like my heartbeat in my throat. That was not as cool.
We decided though it was because you got the Moderna, right? Because I had the Pfizer one, so I had, extreme German engineering pumped into my body, and then you just
I went all American, baby.
Yeah, and then you had the all American one pumped into you.
If I'm gonna trust the government and get the vaccine, dude, I gotta go all the way.
Yeah, 100% sheep.
Yeah, I'm a pure sheep.
Landon, you're like on a list, right, or something like that.
I just have to schedule to go in and do it.
They finally decided that you were essential enough to get a vaccine.
Yeah, they're like, I guess you're actually important.
Did anyone else watch the South Park special, the vaccination special?
Oh, I haven't.
I did not know.
It was interesting. You guys should,
I need HBO Max.
You guys should check it out. It's all these people wanting to get the vaccine that can't because they're reserving it for like old people and stuff, and people are trying to sneak in and get the vaccination. Like kids are trying to steal it and then to like sell the vaccine to people and distribute it like the black market. It was good.
I will say they didn't actually ask me for any proof. Like I am eligible, and I brought like this email I have. It's like a eligibility letter. So I brought that with me, and like they like didn't care. They didn't want to see it.
Did you not make any kind of appointment or anything?
I did, but they didn't ask for that like online either. I don't know. It's weird. So those of you who want to get vaccinated, do with that information what you will.
That's a lie.
Pay me $20 and then I'll give you the address of where I went.
Yeah.
Oh, well, I'm glad you're feeling better.
Thanks, man. Me too.
Depending on how severe like your actual COVID was when people got it, like sometimes it wasn't very fun. Some of the fatigue I got, especially the second week, was really rough. Walking more than a couple feet was really winded me, and
weak.
Are you sure that's not just like what happens normally?
And no, the problem was it wasn't what happened normally. So I was like, wait a minute, this isn't right. Like normally I can walk around the block and I feel fine. Instead of me like my heart pounding out of my chest and my legs feeling like they're jelly.
Yeah.
I'm weak. Colby and I are weak ones. So, we're not strong like Landon and Will.
Down on the bottom of the human food chain.
When I think strong, I think...
Stop.
I immediately think Landon.
Shoot.
Well, dang. What, Colby, you're getting back into a pastime of yours that you haven't experienced in a couple of years. Are you excited?
Yeah. So, like I briefly mentioned, I went and I picked up some hockey skates that I let Mick borrow.
How long did Michael borrow them?
2, 3.
2, 3 what?
Years. In his defense, like every time he was like, "Oh, I have your skates." I was like, "Oh, like I'm not in like that big of a hurry to get them." But recently I have been.
But as soon as you were in a hurry to get them, suddenly they're nowhere to be found.
Yeah, there was no interest to find them. No, so Thursday, actually, I will be playing a hockey game for the first time in 7 years.
Holy moly.
I've
Do you know how to skate still?
Times. Yeah, I've skated a few times. Like
I feel like skating kind of like riding a bike. Like
man.
you don't forget.
Right. So I had to go out, spend a couple $100 on some new gear.
Oh man.
Because like I said, 7 years goes by and all of a sudden you outgrew everything. So
And you really outgrew everything because the last time you played, you were a little boy. And
yes, I was under 5 foot last time I played. So.
You're like 5 years old, right?
And now you're almost you're much closer to 6 foot now. So.
Yeah. You know, that's how I'm actually gonna start like measuring my height. People are like, "How close are you?" I'm like, "Oh, close to 6 foot."
Like when you're a little kid and they ask how old you are, and you're like, "I'm almost 10."
I'm
So
9
you're
8/4.
Yeah. So yeah, it should be interesting. Should be fun. You'll probably hear about it next week, or I guess whenever I'm on next. It sounds like it's going to be a weekly thing. Low commitment, so if I have work or something, I don't have to worry about missing it. So
is it kind of just
be
like
a fun time
pickup game that people get together?
Yeah,
and
basically, it's
have fun.
It's a league, but it's like a pretty relaxed league. So there's like a couple teams in there, but it's not. I don't know. So there is like some coordination to it, but it's nothing like super competitive.
Just
So
don't.
it should be fun. Should be
Don't
nice to have an outlet again.
Don't get another concussion, Colby. Please.
Yeah, that's actually
You
my
probably
one
can't
fear.
afford like another one.
That's my one fear. But
Vegetable Colby.
No.
I don't know, dude. We'll see. We'll see what happens.
Colby can finally get that
maybe you guys
forever
will hear about it
sleep.
next week.
Yeah, the forever. That's not forever. So that's like forever, like in rest mode.
Oh
Like,
no.
Yeah.
Downloading new games.
Yeah.
He just won't turn on, but he won't turn off. either.
Yeah. We could turn them off though, like unplug.
Yeah,
No,
you
no.
do it manually.
Colby, you've been making me worried.
We corrupt Colby's save files.
Colby, you've been making me worried the last few weeks / months because you keep bringing this thing up that I mentioned called
The forever sleep.
The forever sleep. Can you elaborate, and then the rest of us can like talk you out of it?
Dude, stop. So the forever sleep is this idea of, it's basically you take the idea of death and you make it a lot more mild by just calling it the forever sleep.
Because that's what we need in society.
Because
Oh my gosh.
because I think like the ideal way to die would be just to like die in the middle of your sleep, right? So you go to sleep like normal and then you just never wake up. I think that'd be the most
Colby's like,
peaceful.
man, it sure is hot. Sure is hot.
Now, I feel like we would all agree with that. Like the way to go is to go in your sleep. The thing is, you've been talking about it so much recently to like an alarming level
I feel like every
of how
time I talk
much
to Colby's like,
you're looking
I can't wait for
forward
this forever
to
sleep.
the forever
I can't wait
sleep.
for it.
Yeah, so I wouldn't be like alarmed about it, but like the concept.
No.
of
I'm
it,
saying
like
we are alarmed.
mainly, I'm just looking. I'm looking forward to no stress.
The end? No
No, I'm
stress,
not.
you said?
I'm not promoting.
Hey, I hear you there. I mean, life is
Like
really
we all
stressful.
need we all need to be relieved of our stress, and what better way
No.
than to fall
No, I was
asleep?
gonna say there are other
There's
ways.
other ways.
Other
Yeah,
than
there's
the
other, you know,
forever
there's a
sleep,
little-
you know.
Yeah. There's, yeah.
Whatever, dude. I just don't think you guys get it. I don't think you understand.
I'm gonna start googling like crisis hotline phone numbers. Just a second.
1-800.
Oh no. Colby
Colby's
already
got it
knows
saved.
them.
Just kidding.
How do you guys like Colby wants to die in his
Envision going
sleep. Like how do you guys want to die? Because Landon talked about every once in a while that he wants to go out in some fiery, horrible crash or something.
I've always felt like
I
I will die in a horrific way. Like that was like probably avoidable, but like not my fault. Like it's someone else's like
someone crosses the line, like the middle line, and hits you head on.
yeah, something like that, or like I'm somewhere and like some freak accident happens, like
Bank robbery.
yeah, like wrong place, wrong time, just a coincidence, freak accident, like. I was like, man, that's just crazy that happened to Landon. Like, it's like something like if you heard about it happening to someone you didn't know, you like kind of laugh about it. You're like, that's such a crazy way to die. But then like,
I bet
you know,
we'd
for
laugh
people
about
that-
it.
I mean, I feel like, I would
Wow.
like if I died in a horrific, like almost somewhat comical accident, I would want you guys to be sad about it for a while. But like, I would kind of like that maybe, like 6 months down the road, like someone makes like a super
Landon
dark joke
death
about
joke?
it. Like, like a Landon death joke. Like
man,
in like
I
a
can't
PlayStation
believe he was
party.
canned with all that tuna. Like, oh gosh.
yeah.
And that scout troop
We
ate him.
can.
Oh jeez.
Yeah.
Or like you guys are like racing on GTA 5 like 10 years from now because like it's still like
'Cause
the only
GTA
GTA
6
game out, and like
It's still in development.
and someone gets like in a horrible accident in a race, and like they're like, oh, Oliver just got Landon, like something, like
Oh my gosh.
I don't know.
We
I
have talked about before, like, if one of us dies, like, kind of like you said, like, in, like, a crazy way that, like, most of us have said it's okay to joke about it. Obviously, there's going to be a time period where it's not okay.
What's the time
but-
period?
I mean, I don't know. People were making
I think
jokes
Landon
about
said
Kobe
6
like
months.
2 weeks after Kobe died, and he was like, big
I
name.
think that was
So
cool.
like, I feel like
I still don't think that's cool.
Wait. So when are the
Okay.
Kobe jokes cool? Colby? Never.
Yeah, probably never, dude. Like,
I felt
He was too
like Kobe
pure.
jokes were
He was
funny
too
like
pure.
3 months afterwards. Like so, like for me, I feel like a week. I'm not as important as Kobe, so like I feel like a week after I'm gone, you guys can.
Landon's giving us permission to laugh a week after his death. this is like the
I
most
try to,
messed
like,
up episode. Colby's like, yeah, the forever sleep. And Landon's like, yeah, laugh at my death.
Dude, I'm always
Okay,
trying
Will.
to make people
Okay,
laugh,
Will,
dude.
say something
like,
horrible.
you want to say something really
I
bad?
Will's gonna be the
know.
cause of Landon's death.
Are you saying I'm going to swerve
Will
now
pushed-
if Will caught
if
road?
Will-
Will
now-
pushed the button
now-
that canned Landon.
Yeah. Here's what I especially want: if one of you causes my death, like in a horrible way, like I definitely want people to make like passive aggressive jokes towards the person, like, like to kill me, like, be like, oh,
so,
what, Will, you gonna kill me like you killed Landon? Like,
Yeah, so like,
You know
let's
how
say
much
Landon
guilt
does get
that would
caught up in
just
a bank
bring up
robbery.
yeah,
on
it'd be
somebody?
so bad.
Like
would be
let's
so
say
terrible.
Landon does get caught up in a bank robbery, and it's because like he lost a bet to me, and he owed me like $100 cash or something. So he goes to the bank to get that $100, gets caught up in a bank robbery, dies.
Will's the
like,
one robbing the bank. I'm the teller, like my finger slipped and didn't hit the silent alarm the right way. And so like we're all complicit
Yeah.
somehow in Landon's death.
Yeah.
Gosh.
Uh,
You guys could share
All
the
right, Dave.
burden.
your turn to say something dark.
How
How do you
I
want to go out, Dave?
I don't know how I want to. I mean, peaceful in my sleep.
How
Colby.
will you?
But when I'm like 90 years old,
90's pretty old, man.
Yeah, dude. I don't think I want to live past 70, to be honest. 70 seems like
No,
you've lived a
70 is
fine
not.
life.
I just as soon as I'm decrepit, that's when like
70 is like, it's not that old anymore, right? I mean, 70 is
Yeah.
the new 50.
I don't, in like 50 years from now, like that might be the new. Like, oh gosh, no.
Colby's like, I'm never gonna get to sleep forever.
I'm never gonna-
Like all these advancements in technology and
Colby can't. They make it where Colby like they get rid of death. They get rid of death. Like they like won't let Colby die. Like,
we have to stop modern medicine before they go too far.
oh my gosh. No, I probably will die from heart-related issues just because of family history. So, I don't know how I want to go out, but I know how I will go out. So,
But
You got a bum ticker.
Here's the biggest question.
You live a healthy lifestyle.
don't
Yeah.
matter. Pump.
Here's the biggest question: How do you want to know before you're going to die, or do you just live a peaceful day and then die in your sleep? Like,
Well,
'cause
I
there's a
assume-
difference between like you have 6 months to live and you're gonna die like in 6 months, and I'm continuing on like normal and I just die randomly in my sleep once.
I
Assume I'm gonna know when I'm like, oh wow, the 18-wheeler's in my lane. Like, oh no, like, and then like, I mean, I'll know like seconds before, like.
How long do you think those seconds last?
well,
Probably not very long.
It depends. Is Joss Whedon filming it or is Zack Snyder filming it?
Zack Snyder.
Slow motion.
10
all
minutes
the
to be
way.
like, hallelujah. Hallelujah.
Will to answer Will's
Oh my
question,
gosh.
I think
For
there's pros
Landon.
and
For
cons to
Landon.
both.
Oh
The
my
Landon
gosh.
cut.
No, cut that.
No, see, it's over.
No.
No, it's past a week, so it's okay. Like, Landon gave us permission.
Will, to answer your question, I think there's pros and cons to both, but I think I just want to live a normal day and then just go to sleep. Like, wake up, think it's going to be like Tuesday tomorrow, like next thing you know. boom, forever sleep.
I think I'm with Colby on this one. I would prefer to not know. I think the weight of knowing would be too much, and it would cause more stress. That's
the thing. It would cause more stress, and the whole point of forever sleep is you want to be stress-free. Yes, you want to be stress-free. Thank you, Dave. You're getting it.
But then you're ignorant about the reality of death.
What do you mean? You're not ignorant about it. You're just ignorant about the moment of death.
Right, but
you can still accept that you will die at some point and prepare for it and be okay with it.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think that truly hits in a way unless you know you're dying soon.
So you want
What do you mean?
To know? Will so you want to know a week in advance?
I've been I would want to know months, maybe even a week in advance. Yeah, because I've been reading some articles and stuff and certain people's experiences, and death never really truly hits them. Like the reality of death never truly hits them until they're given terminal illness or you have 6 months to live or something like that. And I think that's what really makes you think, right? That's what really makes you start to ponder, contemplate.
And that's the thing. I don't want to think about that.
You don't?
I think that's
probably get a lot of cool meals paid for it. So
Colby's just proving Will's
for a long time.
Why don't you want to think about that?
I think that would just cause too much stress. So if I...
But you don't care, Colby.
I don't care.
But is the goal to live a stressful life, or is the goal to live a meaningful life,
or a wonderful life?
Okay. Oh,
what a bad
Landon.
So you think in that 6 month time period, however long you've been given, that you could make not only life altering decisions, but you want to make? Or is this you want to make more of an impact on people around you? Is it you want your life to be more meaningful? Is this what is it
Well, I think it's
why
just
do you want to know?
More of coming to terms with what's going to happen, right? Because I right now, we all know in air quotes that we can all die tomorrow, right? We can step out on the bus
today.
We could die today, tonight.
Dude, a tree could come falling down through any one of our houses.
Do you honestly believe? Do you guys honestly believe that when you're going to go to bed, you're not going to wake up in the next morning?
No.
No, I kind of feel like I'll wake up.
I just hope.
Yeah, and that makes you not think about the reality of what happens. Imagine if you lived your whole life like that.
Now this is kind of grim, but I have it a couple times where I'm nodding off and it feels different and where I'm man, it actually you know what I mean? I'll be laying in bed falling falling asleep is man, it feels like it's getting darker than normal, and then I jolt awake. I'm okay, I'm whoa, I'm that was weird. I thought I was dying there for a second.
Well, so ideally then, Will, what this kind of plays off of what Colby was asking. What's supposed to be different then once you know? What do you do? What do you change? How do you think differently? What's supposed to happen?
I don't know, because I haven't really gotten to that point yet. I can't say how people are supposed to think differently, but I think I just don't want to live my last days of my life. And obviously I have no control over this because nobody controls how they die usually. So I want to live the last days of my life, kind of knowing what is going to happen, if that makes sense.
So do you want to take those final days and make amends with everything and everyone you felt you've wronged?
He wants to catch up and watch all the anime that he didn't watch. He's I only have 6 months.
I want to watch Zack Snyder's Justice League. That's what I on repeat. On repeat. No, in seriousness, I think just merely contemplating it and coming to terms and being okay with it, because I think it's easy for us to say I'm okay with dying when death isn't a reality for us.
Yeah, I say that all the time, and
I think the older you get, though, I think you typically just naturally start coming to more even without having a death sentence time stamped on you. I think you kind of become more in tune with that as the more and more relatives, older relatives that you have that start passing away, and the more people that you know that die. I think you kind of start to come to grips with that.
I think the thing with us is that since we're so young, the likelihood of us dying is much smaller than older people. So
but it's not zero.
Yes, Colby.
No, it's not zero.
That's true. So if one of us dies, it probably will be so unexpected that we won't have the chance to even contemplate it. which means that like we couldn't have really prepared for it anyway.
But we can still joke about it.
Where like once you get older and like the chances become higher with each passing day, I think that then it'll probably be a little more a little more pressing, I suppose. But like if one of us were to die tomorrow, it wouldn't really make a difference if we I guess had like before the moment been ready to die versus not knowing, or versus not being ready, because it'll be over in an instant, you know, or at least in Landon's case, like I'm going with the car crash thing. We're like,
I get what you're saying.
Huge eye opener for like just like the people
everybody
around us
else
too, right? Like so like let's say like one of us does die, Will, and it's not you, but like so now you don't have like that time frame of like how long you're gonna live, but now you know, like you have a better concept of like any day could be my last day, right? And like maybe you hold that like to be more true now that you've experienced it almost, right? Like secondhand.
Yeah,
that makes sense.
Yeah, I don't know. This is gonna sound a little weird, but what I just keep thinking about, like in Red Dead Redemption 2, there's a talk between two characters, and to do a spoiler-free version of it, one character says like, "Hey, at least you know." Like
talking about the character and then the nun chick. It's at the train station.
No, I'm talking about that conversation too is one that is very relevant, but there's also another one with two different characters. One of them says to the other, he says like, "Hey, it's kind of a blessing to know so that you can make amends, so you can prepare yourself, so that you can," like a lot of people like didn't get the chance to like don't get the chance to be in your position, and then the other character's like, yeah, he says like, yeah, that's true. And so like that combined with like I don't know if you know who Timothy Keller is. He's like a famous pastor at a church somewhere. I think it's in New York. He got diagnosed with pancreatic cancer,
which is a really bad form of.
That's a quick one.
Yeah. Right. And so he's writing a lot now on like him having to face reality with death, because he like ironically wrote a book about facing death as a Christian and what it means for them. Like you shouldn't be scared. And the first thing that he did when he got diagnosed with pancreatic cancer was feel scared.
Yeah, of course.
Like to actually come with the grips. And it's like, it kind of makes me want to be in a similar situation like that. Like, obviously, I'm not going to be able to decide that ultimately.
Give himself cancer.
Yeah.
He's going to buy a dose of cancer. And
Landon's, Will's poking around. Is that my pancreas? Is that my spleen?
But yeah,
that makes sense. I do think there's pros and cons to both sides.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I get what you guys are saying too. It's just kind of like, it's almost like a pick your poison, right?
Yeah.
Like, which poison do you prefer?
Yep. Dang.
Yeah.
What a depressing end of this episode.
I mean, I really enjoyed it, but yeah, it was pretty.
It's not depressing. I mean, it's just kind of.
It's inevitable. I mean, it's
heavy.
Yeah. Death is inevitable for every single person. So but true. That doesn't mean that it's not tragic in every single case or in most cases.
Yeah.
But it's something too that it's so normal for the world and throughout all of time, for not just people but for plants and animals and all living things. It's weird that it's such like it's such an inevitability, and it's so common, but in small doses, you know, like or
so
like when you really look
at
at it, you know, on a case by case basis, especially if you're all the people that are affected or the things that are affected by it. Death is still like really tragic, but still unavoidable too.
Yeah, that's like one of the philosophers I've studied in my classes, Heidegger. He said that like the horizon of existence is death. Like that's the end of existence. And so it really puts into question like existence in general. Mm-hmm. You know, like if we're here and the end result is just death, like what are we doing, kind of thing.
Yeah.
What are we doing?
Where are we going?
What are we doing, Landon?
Putting in high offers on houses
that are gonna get turned down.
Getting outbid.
Will likes philosophy a lot. I like philosophy too. I'm not as versed in it as Will is, since I didn't study it.
I'm too stupid.
I think it's fun to talk about. I think it's fun to talk about every once in a while.
Oh yeah, especially because philosophy is really interesting because it's one of the least talked about subjects, but one of the most applicable, right?
Oh, I'd say it's very very applicable to, because it's about existence and thought and everything, and purpose and being. Thought. Yeah.
even philosophies of art are extremely pertinent to life, because art is such a human experience.
I think the thing is, existence is, I think, and this kind of ties up some of the stuff, is that oftentimes existence is so unknown and scary that the easiest thing to do is to not think about it. And then when you start thinking about it is when it's the most.
That's how we deal with it.
That's when it's the scariest.
Frightening.
And I think when you don't think about it, it kind of robs you of like a chance at discovering what it means.
Yeah, it's like facing your fears versus ignoring them.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's when you start taking stuff for granted.
Like what?
Well, I feel like people take life for granted when they put death on the back burner.
I would say that's true.
Yeah.
Dang. Well, anything else you guys want to talk about before we're done this week?
I think that's a good way to
call, actually.
wrap things up.
Getting that denial call. All right. Well, thank you so much for listening to this week's episode of the Hotkeys podcast. We'll be back next week. Thanks for listening. Bye.
Goodbye.
Later. Colby filling in for Landon.
Landon wasn't here to do it. Somebody had to be annoying.
Yeah, there we go.
Thank you for listening to this week's episode of the Hotkeys podcast. You can find us on iTunes, Google Play, Spotify, CastBox, YouTube, and other podcasting platforms. Visit our website, www.hotkeyspodcast.com. Follow us on Twitter at Hotkeys Podcast and join our Facebook group at facebook.com/HKHotkeys. Please like and review us and subscribe to the show on whichever platforms you use. Finally, you can contact us via email at hosts@hotkeyspodcast.com.